Yo, what's going on? It's the Lou Capetta Show with Jay Burke. I'm your host, Lou Capetta. And the sound you are hearing is a beat called It's Real. We use it to open the show. It's dope. It's by my man in Richmond, New Jersey hip-hop recording artist and producer extraordinaire. Shout out to him. This week, my guest is Bernadette Giacomazzo. Love the name. Fellow Italian. I love my Italians. She is one talented lady, man. She pretty much does it all. She's a publicist. She's a journalist. She is a photographer. She's an author. She comes through. She's got some very, very, very interesting stories about being a publicist in New York City. And she comes by to talk about some of the people she's helping us get on the show, behind the scenes, and about her book series that's coming up. The first book drops next month. The Uprising series. Book 1 is The Gathering. It drops in March. She's going to come back on the show again. Maybe we'll do something in New York City at one of her book signings or something like that. But check her out. She's real interesting. And as always, you can check us out. iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spreaker.com. Hopefully soon on iHeartRadio. And enjoy the show. Welcome, everybody. What's up? It's the Lou Capetta Show. I'm your host, Lou Capetta. The show is named after me. Today, I am once again very lucky to be talking to another very interesting person. And that's the whole spiel of the show. I'm just a regular guy from Jersey talking to a lot of interesting people from all walks of life. And today, I have a fellow Italian, Bernadette Giacomazzo. Wait. Right, I said that right? I did it right?
Yes, you did.
All right, there you go. I did.
I assume you're going to you're going to edit this in post-production.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I edit a little bit, but you know, we do it. Yeah. We keep it real here. We keep it real. What you see is what you get. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I am going to edit it. And for those people that may not know your name, which I'm surprised because you have written a lot of good articles that they have probably read for a lot of different sites. I mean, you're a writer, a photographer. You do publicity. So you're really all over the place. So you have done a lot. I looked at your website. You've done a lot of really great articles. You've written for BuzzFeed, correct? Double XL. You wrote a lot about hip hop. So you a big hip hop fan?
Obviously as a New Yorker, I grew up with hip hop.
Yes. Yep.
We're talking about the early days of Hot 97.
Yes.
So we're talking about
when it was
back when things were a little bit more free form. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, yes. So, obviously I'm talking about that era of hip hop that I grew up with. Right. And I think that's what I think the biggest fan of. Obviously, 80s rap is very influential just for the fact that it did what it did. Right. And obviously, it set the scene for what was to come in the 90s and the early aughts. I don't know what's going on today, but
yeah.
the 90s and the early aughts were really a good time for hip hop. You have to figure that when I was in high school, when I was a freshman in high school, the same time that Nirvana's Nevermind, which had Smells Like Teen Spirit on it, obviously, and that triggered the grunge revolution. At the same time that came out, Dr. Dre's, around that time is when Dr. Dre's Chronic came out. So we're talking about a really revolutionary time on both the rock and the hip hop front. And so when you grow up in that kind of an incubator, you naturally gravitate towards. You don't sort it out by genre necessarily. You just gravitate towards good music. If it's good, I'll listen to it. I'll rock with it. I'll really stand behind it. If it's crap, it's crap, and I'm going to tell you it's crap. The only type of music that I admit was very. So that's really the long answer to your question, but I am a hip hop fan of sorts.
I agree with you 100%. My son is 18 years old. He's a big hip hop fan, and he hasn't listened to me about much, but he has listened to me about the pantheon of hip hop and how the old school was and stuff like that. And actually, he came to me the other day and he was like, "Man, Dad, my friends are tripping over here, man. They're talking about Kendrick Lamar is better than Nas." And I was like, "Well, what'd you say?" He's like, "Nah, Nas is better." I was like, "Oh, all right, yeah, all right." So I did something right, you know what I mean? But I know exactly what you're saying, because I tried to tell him, when we were so you dated yourself a little bit with what you were saying. So we're right around the same age.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not ashamed of my age. I know, like, this is an industry that prizes youth, and most women are told to lie about their age, and they're valued for the fact that they're 20 years old and, looking hot and cute and whatever. Number one, I'm 40 and I still look goddamn good. I still could get,
That's right.
I could still get a few neck turns over here. So that's number one. I'm sorry. I see some 25-year-olds out there today and they look a goddamn mess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, because they just don't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
So,
this
is not what you say. It's a thing.
So I'll be we are the same age, because I'm going to be on February 7th. I'm going to be 40 years old. So.
Oh, nice! Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
But I listen. It's an accomplishment in some parts of where we come from.
Yeah.
To have made it to 25, let alone 40. But I'll be honest with you. Even though I'm in an industry that prides itself on youth and everything like that, I'm not ashamed of my age. I'm not ashamed of what I've accomplished. I'm 40. I'm proud of it. I look good for my age. I look good for any age, frankly. And if at 25 years old, half of these women, and I especially speak out to the women, could accomplish half of what I've accomplished by the time they reach 40, then I will tip my hat to them. Because what I've accomplished is not easy for anyone, let alone a woman.
Yeah.
So. So no, I'm not gonna hide behind my age. I don't care if I date myself. Yeah, I'm this age. Deal.
That's it. And you talk about your accomplishments just from, and I only scratched the surface. You have accomplished a lot. So I know we got right off the bat into the hip hop, but I'm really interested in knowing about your career, because you seem to really have like a wide array of talents, and sometimes that can have people get lost in the shuffle and their talent's really not shine through. But that's not the case with you. So you do photography. You are a writer, you're a journalist. You're also you work on, you're writing books, and you're doing publicity. Those are just all your passions? Did you just want to get into some type of media or art or whatever, and it just all that happened organically? How did all that come about, and where did you start first? And what was your first love? And how did everything branch off?
Wow. My first love was always music journalism. Mm-hmm. I envisioned myself, again, going back to the 90s, the Rolling Stone, almost famous type of journalist. Dr. Hunter S. Thompson is one of my favorites. I just love his gonzo style of reporting. I love the fact that he simply didn't give a fuck. Yeah. And I'm allowed to curse, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You just fuck. Say whatever you want. Yeah,
because we're gonna.
Yeah, that's right. We keep it real here. I really
love that. I love that life on the edge. I love that that opportunity to report on creativity and just be present in the making of it. So I started out there, and obviously at this time print was really the thing. So I got my first ever gig at my school newspaper. I did undergraduate at the King University, so I got my start at my school newspaper. And on Sunday mornings from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., I was the radio DJ for WDSR. And when I graduated and I came back to New York, because I graduated, I just said, you know what? I'm going to really pursue this wholeheartedly. So while I was working in a law firm, because, the girl's got to pay her bills, I was interning at the Islandeer, which was an absolutely amazing newspaper for its time. It was very edgy and revolutionary. It had just some real top-notch photographers, Billy Pestinante, people like that, Glenn, Glenn the Bagel. It was really, really dope. But who was leading us all was an editor by the name of Michael Patrick Nelson. And I really owe so much of my career back then to Michael Patrick Nelson. Because once he realized that I was this diamond in the rough, that I was this raw talent, and that I had this drive and ambition to really just go somewhere with it, he really took the time to help me, to mold me, to craft my voice, to just do my thing, and to really develop myself.
Okay. Like to develop your own personal style. Of your journalism, you mean? Yes.
Okay. Because no journalist really goes into it, especially in the beginning, knowing her own voice.
Right.
Every journalist goes into it just, I don't want to say, it's almost academic, because remember, I didn't go to school for journalism. I have actually biology degrees. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Classics, Bachelor of Science in Biology. I have a Master's in Humanities and a PhD in Psychology. So by trade, I guess academically, I'm a scientist. And I took that science approach to journalism, to music, and to what I was doing on the scene.
Right.
Because I just felt that it was necessary to really look at things from that perspective, to really be able to dissect what it was that I was doing, and to really see all sides of the record, all sides of the coin. And I just found that, and really, like I said, I credit Michael Patrick Nelson for this. He found that with that kind of mind frame, if he could mold and target me a little bit better and just really help me develop my voice, I would stand out from the rest. Because at a certain point, you start reading, these publicists and these journalists, and they all sound the damn same, and it gets very boring.
Right.
And the fact that I have the distinctive voice that I have today, all these years later, is in great part due to Michael Patrick Nelson. And I can't say enough good things about him. It's been almost 20 years since I was lucky enough to have him as my editor. And to this day, I still talk about him, because I'm one of these people that feels it's absolutely important to always remember who was there for you and who helped you along the way. I am not one of these people that's loyal to opportunity. I am loyal to people who help me, because loyalty in and of itself is a rare trait, and it's even more rare, if not completely non-existent, in the music business. So when you understand that and you get something like that, you treasure it. If you're any kind of a decent human being and you've had any type of a blessing, no matter how big or small, you treasure that.
Right.
That's how really I got my start. When the Island Ear was sold and it became the Long Island Press, I ended up having to leave. And I said to myself at this point, you know what? I'm in Long Island, and I really should spread my wings and go to Manhattan, because that's where it is. And at this point, I'm 24 years old. I'm full of piss and vinegar. I thought I could do no wrong. I thought I was invincible. And, we all think like that when we're that age. Like a job at BB King. Yeah. And then from there, I got a job at Universal Records. And it spiraled from there. It went from there. It grew, because I just put my nose to the grindstone, and I said to myself I was going to do it. I helped, see some pretty big bands. I was someone who, as I like to tell people, I was one of the few people that actually hated John Mayer back in the day, because when it came to BB King's, I have just stories for days about celebrities and stuff. But
let's hear that, because I like John Mayer. I need to know if I should not like him.
Okay, I would suggest that you not like him, because as you well know, the man has a bit of a problematic past with race. He made that comment back that he made about like his dick being a KKK dick, and because he thinks he's funny and edgy, and he really isn't. And so I'm 24 years old, and at this point, I was working for the marketing manager of BB King's, and he was also someone who did booking at the Wetlands back in the day. So a lot of the money went through him.
Okay.
So if you were a band and you were going to get paid, you had to go through him. And the night that John Mayer played was also the night that B.B. King, may God rest his soul, that was the night that B.B. King actually came through and performed as well. So it was really a night of it was a night of enjoying guitar players. So B.B. King brought him out, and I really have a lot of faith in this guitar player, and he's brand new. He's really going to be a superstar, blah, blah, blah. So, of course, B.B. King gives you the blessing. Of course, it's going to go to your head.
Yeah, that's wow.
So, so I'm there, doing my thing and, what I'm supposed to do. The show ends, and now I got to run backstage to go get everybody's money. Everybody's got to get paid. So I get the money, and I stop in. I talk to B.B. King himself, and just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Had a good conversation with him for about 10 minutes, and he had stories for days, and it was just so fascinating just to even be in his presence. This is one of those things where, he's a legend, so when he talks, you listen.
Absolutely.
And so this is another thing where, let's have a dialogue. This is when he talks, you listen. And so that's exactly what I did. But what then happened is that, now I have the money in my hand. All right, I got to go pay John Mayer. So I'm short. Like, crap. I got to go back to Zahn, because this guy's named Chris Zahn. I got to go back to Chris Zahn's desk and go get the rest of the money. All right. So back to Chris Zahn's desk, unlock it. And as I walk in there, who's sitting on there but this blonde and beautiful girl, blonde waitress, big tits, no brains, but it is what it is. And there she was making out with John Mayer. Yeah. All right, whatever. Nobody cares. He was far from attractive to me. It wasn't where you say, oh, my God, I'm so jealous. No, I don't care. I got to get you paid, and I got to get you the fuck out of here, and I got to go home. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I got to take the train. I got to go, okay?
Right,
I'm tired. So, of course, I got to get to the drawer, and what do I say? I say what people who were raised in Italian households and with any sense of pride say, excuse me. I'm polite. What do I know?
Right.
So John Mayer turns around and he says, he looks me up and down. He gives me this look like he's smelling a fart. And he just goes, and you really think that you have a chance with me?
Oh,
and I'm
God.
Well, nothing. First of all, literally, I was literally talking like that. I was literally I couldn't get
with the hands going.
Form. Yeah, I couldn't get the words to form properly because I was so flabbergasted. Bruh, is formality and politesse so foreign to you that when someone says excuse me, the first place you go is, oh my God, she wants to fuck me? Dude, I don't want to fuck you. I wouldn't fuck you with this bitch's pussy. I don't think you understand. I am here to pay you. You gotta go and get off my boss's desk. Seriously, what the hell is the matter with y'all? I was so pissed because it's the presumption on your part that
some pompous
first
shit.
of all first of all that I would even want to do that with you, and second of all that's the only reason why there's a woman in backstage, and that's all a woman can do in this business is just suck and fuck her way to the top. Guess what? And to this day, Lou, I still get people who call me a fucking groupie.
Really?
Are you even? Yeah, it's absolutely embarrassing and hilarious because the people who are calling me a groupie and the people who are calling me a groupie that claim that I'm a groupie for so and so and such, first of all, I don't see any famous people over here that you're calling me a groupie for. Second, it's really easy to talk shit from your mother's basement where you're not paying any rent. So, and third of all, you know what? Most importantly, a groupie is someone her sole existence is depending on following famous people around. Not only have I never done that, not only do I make my name for myself by myself, but I've developed a cachet and relationships over the course of 20 years that no matter who I touch, I can make them turn to gold. I can give them exposure that I can't give anybody else. And you know what? Fuck you. And fuck you harder for thinking that all it takes is for me to suck and fuck a dick. Because if that's all it would have taken, I would have been at the top a long time ago. Stop. So, you know what I mean? I'm being real, Lou. I'm being real. Nothing makes me crazier. Because you know what? If I had those same qualities and accomplished all those same things, but I was a dude instead of a chick, You would only hear, oh, my God, he's a powerhouse. He's so successful. He's so strong. He's the kind of guy I want to fuck with. I'm going to break bread with this motherfucker. I want to do this. I want to do that. But because it's a chick, now all of a sudden, oh, she got that because she was stuck in some dick. Oh, she crazy. Oh, she groupie. Oh, she this. Oh, she that. No, first of all, you mad it ain't you. Second of all, is it that you want to suck some dick? I mean, because if you do, I can make that happen. Listen, this is a 20% channel. Just want to suck dick. You can suck all the dick you want. I will set it up for you. Give me a few minutes. I'm going to make a few phone calls. I'm going to make it happen for you. But you don't come out to the side of your house. And talk about some chick that can actually fucking help you along the way. And it really drives me over the wall when I have helped somebody along the way and they still come out the side of their mouth with that goopy shit.
Right.
So after a while, you just get real disgusted and you say, you know what? I'm keeping my circle smaller. I'm only helping the people that I want to help. I'm keeping it amongst like friends, family, people I love. Right. The rest of y'all can go fuck yourself. The rest of this is just a business transaction. Now, if you want to call me a name, you can call me whatever name you want. I'm just still getting that money.
Just pay me. That's right.
So, you know what? You pay me enough money, you can call me whatever the fuck you want. But you ain't going to call me that for free. Fuck.
Right.
And it's going to cost you a lot more than you can probably afford to call me those names. So I just need to make that, real clear. But so
BB King, was that your first your first real getting into like the publicity side of things when you were working at BB King's?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
So that seems to be like just from what you were just explaining to me, that really seems to be like very, very rewarding, but at the same time like very fucking awful, because like you seem to have to deal with a lot of fucking egos and shit like that.
Yeah.
Do you find that? Is it hard to? Do you have like real highs and lows like that, where it's like you're like, yes, like I'm doing this, I'm working with some great people, and then you go through like a John Mayer scenario and you're like, what the fuck?
You know what? The John Mayer scenarios, I will say this, at a certain level, when people are up and coming, they act very out of pocket. Many of them get egos very quickly. If they do taste some level of success, they think they can do it on their own, or like they'll have a girlfriend or a wife or a boyfriend or a husband that'll be like, you don't need her, baby. You can do it on your own. It's very much like back in the day when, bands would be, it was like the lead singer, the guitarist, the bassist, the drummer, and the lead singer would get a girlfriend and the girlfriend would just be like, it's literally almost like the plot of Spinal Tap. That the lead singer would get a girlfriend, and the girlfriend would be like, you know what? You don't need her. You don't need them. You are really famous on your own. You just need me, and we're going to be famous. And then, like, all the money dries up, and all the fame dries up, and no one gives a fuck about you. And then all of a sudden, there goes the girlfriend, and it's like, then you have to call the band, get the band back together, and all the rest of the shit. It literally has happened since time immemorial. Some people go through it and some people don't. Those that go through it, no matter what, they're in, be it that they're musicians, that they're artists, that they're writers, I don't give a fuck what you are. Inevitably, you're going to go through some form of that trial. If you achieve some level of fame, because, and the younger you are, the more likely you are to go through it, because you get fame and you get recognition at an early age, you're going to start to feel like you're invincible. And inevitably, your head's going to go up your ass and you're going to really believe all the bullshit that people are telling you.
Right.
And then you're going to find out the hard way that it's not true. So it pays to have a good head on your shoulders about that stuff. When it comes to famous people, on the other hand, especially people who like really have a name for themselves, the John Mayer stories have become few and far between, because for the most part, when they get to that level, they already know what it means to have gone through that struggle, and they've already paid their dues and they've earned their bones, and they tend to avoid disrespecting people, especially. I will tell you this: no famous person I have ever worked for over the course of 20 years has ever called me a groupie, and I mean that very, very, very sincerely. No famous, successful, established, well-moneyed person has ever called me that name. The only people who have called me that name are unsuccessful, broke losers. And it's inevitable that that's what's going to happen. And I've come to accept that that's just part of the deal.
It's just hating.
But I can't sit here and lie and say, oh, it doesn't bother me. Of course it bothers me. I mean, as a woman, we go through so much shit in this business. Do we need to hear this too? I mean, come on. I know there's like this stereotype that, especially in hip hop, there's all these dudes that like be hitting on you and shit like that. And, they look at you and all they want to do is fuck. And I never went through that. I never went through a situation where I was with any type of famous person, no matter what the genre was. And whatever it was, if it was a famous, moneyed or established person, I never went through drama or disrespect. That's what really made like dealing with their, I don't want to even say ego, dealing with their quirks a lot easier. Because once you know that there's that level of respect, you can accept their little quirks and differences, and you don't stop working with someone just because they're a little quirky or just because they do like one thing that you don't like or whatever the case may be.
Right.
You work through it, but when someone is like so disrespectful and they call you all these kinds of names and they feel like you owe them some kind of thing, that only really came from like the up and coming musicians that ultimately would end up unsuccessful. And I think that that's more of a testament to who they are and not to whom I am, because all that name calling never stopped me from achieving what it is that I've achieved. And not only achieving what I achieved, but helping other people achieve what I've achieved and more as well. So that's a slight against them, not a slight against me.
Right.
So again, long answer to your question, but still very valid.
I love long answers. I want to know the ins and outs of everything. I'm actually one of the reasons why I started this. I'm just a curious guy. Like I enjoy learning things and talking to people, and just I want to find out stuff. Like even just with the publicity side of what you do, that really, really intrigues me, because I don't know why, but it's like you bring regular everyday people to famous people, and that's how. And you seem like from your comments, you seem to really, really enjoy helping people get to a certain spot, like on the publicity side of things. Is that like, do you find that the most rewarding, because you're not only making your name, you're making somebody else's name, which is, I mean, it's hard enough to make a name for yourself, let alone help make a name for somebody else. I'll
tell you this. There's not one thing that I do that's more rewarding than the other. If I'm doing it, it's because I find it rewarding. So I need to make that like very clear. At this stage of my life, I don't do anything that doesn't speak to my true self or waste my time. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm doing publicity for this artist called Son of a Saint. And as I mentioned to you before we went on the air, I've known this guy for 15 years. I've loved this guy for 15 years. This is more his story to tell than it is mine. But to make it,
and he's going to have short, he's going to have that chance.
Yeah, he's going to have that opportunity. Yes. But I'll make a long story extremely short.
Okay.
He got his start in a metal band as the lead singer, and of course, he's fucking beautiful. I have no words to tell you how fucking beautiful he was. And over the years, our paths have crossed, and finally, we really reconnected. And he told me what he was doing, and I saw what he was doing, and I'm like, you know what? I love you. I fucked with you, and I'm going to make this happen for you. But those were like the three things. And by the time we had decided that that's what we were going to do, I had already had a lot of these established relationships with places like the New York Post, the Daily News, ESPN, BuzzFeed, this, that, and the third.
Right.
So for me, it was a question of catalyzing these relationships to help him realize his dream. And I'm not saying it's, without its problems, He's Hispanic, I'm Italian, we're passionate people and we butt heads. You know what I mean? And I think the reason we butt heads is because we're both very passionate people.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we love each other. We love what we're doing. We see the bigger picture. We see the common goal. And we work towards that. And I think that's what makes the process rewarding. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily and I'm sure he would say the same thing, not necessarily the process of being famous, whatever the fuck that means. Not necessarily the process of, catalyzing these relationships or doing or saying, because it's hard work. It is really hard work what it is that I do and what it is that he does. It's not easy work. But, it's about the fact that, you're doing it with someone and you have each other's backs and, like, you can count on the other person. And, like, when you go out there in public, like, he represents you and you represent him and you both, like, really fucking rock it out. Mm-hmm. And it's that satisfaction that makes it rewarding. The rest of it is just gravy. It also helps that we're older and we're not fanciful about it anymore. We're not 21, having rock star dreams. Would be kind of silly at this point at our age to really sit here and be like, oh, well, I'm going to be a rock star. No. Rock is for the young and for the poor. And and which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We were all, every one of us had our times when we were eating nothing but salad and mashed potato sandwiches. We all go through that. It's part of earning your bones. Yeah, ramen noodles, peanut butter sandwiches, pasta, obviously being an Italian family, like you just stock up on pasta. I mean, it's $1 a bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But but when it's great when it's, it's a huge dinner or whatever. When that's all you eat for a whole week and it's like, you really got to portion it out, you're going to really get ultra thinning. It's going to hurt and it's going to make you starve. But, because we're older, that's kind of where I think our minds are at. I don't think that it's a thing where we say, oh my God, we're going to be famous. You know what? If we achieve a good level of success, if we achieve a good level of respect, and we achieve a good level of steady work, we're good. And then the fact that we're doing it together and with each other makes it that much better because it's not just some stranger. It's not just some, person that's just doing it for business purposes. It's somebody that for a long time. It's somebody that, you have that existing relationship with. So that makes it a lot easier. And you trust that other person a lot more.
Now, this is what I always thought. And I learned this, as you said, as you get older, that there is a difference between being famous and getting recognition. Like you do something well, you want recognition. You want somebody to say, hey, you know what? Good job. So I love it when people say, "Hey, man, that was a really cool podcast that you did. That person was really interesting." That I don't care if I'm famous or fame is. I don't want people just know me just to know me. I'm not a Kardashian, but I think as you get older, and maybe you could speak on this and tell me if you agree. But as you get older, you realize that it's not so much fame that you want. It's just recognition for your hard work and the job that you're doing.
Yeah, it's. I think it's that, and I think that too. It depends on the person. For me, I never wanted to be famous. I never wanted to be somebody that was in front of the camera. Someone I love actually recently told me, you really need to start doing more interviews for your shit. And I'm like, why? What the fuck do I have to say that is so goddamn interesting that these people want to talk to me? Right. And because I can't, in my mind, reconcile being in the front lines when I've been helping others for so long go to the front lines. Mm-hmm. And, it's also a function of being a product of the old school. If you are a publicist or a journalist, well, especially with journalism, okay? In journalism, you need to make it clear. Mm-hmm. The number one rule of journalism is that you, as the journalist, do not become the story.
Yes.
Unless you're writing an opinion piece, you are not part of the story. You are reporting what you see. That is it.
Right.
Nothing more, nothing less. If you become a part of the story, you have failed as a journalist. So that's the first thing.
Amazing. That is absolutely amazing. I actually had a journalist. I don't know if you're familiar with Jeff Pearlman, but I had him as a guest.
Yeah.
and he said the same exact thing, and that is, and not many journalists remember that nowadays.
No, they don't. They want to be the story. They want to be like, it's this new breed. I'll tell you this much. I really despise this new breed, this young breed of journalists and of quote unquote publicists. You know, the 20, 25-year-olds that, you know, are out of school, and they think that, some of them think that, oh, because I have a degree, I am so much better than you. And then I hit them with my degrees. And it's like, oh, I guess not. I'm like, no. So, you know, and then it's like, oh, but, you know, I live in Brooklyn. It's like,
oh, you're a hipster.
Own a house in Atlantic Beach. Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, I just hate that whole haughty, cocky, nasty, I'm so much better than you attitude. The other thing that we were taught, and like this is to the publicist point, you as the publicist are never to go on the red carpet. You are not there to get your picture taken. It is not about you. You are not an influencer. Nobody gives a fuck what you think. And you have to really be in the background. It is your job to get the brand out there. Similar to a journalist not being a part of, not becoming the story, you as the publicist are not the fucking brand. Okay? You are not the face of, I don't know, Jägermeister. You are not fucking Jägermeister. Jägermeister is your client. You know what I mean? Or whoever is your client. 50 Cent is your client. Whoever the hell is your client. There are so many publicists out there today that want to become celebrities themselves, that love to, you know, strut their stuff and like try to be like these micro influencers. Do you know that I know publicists, especially from the urban world, that when they go to pull wardrobe for their client's photo shoot, they try to pull wardrobe for themselves as well? I'm like,
no.
I'm like, who? Yeah, really. I can show you like honest to God examples when we get off the air. Like, who the fuck does this? Who the fuck goes to a fashion house knowing that you're pulling for a client for a photo shoot, and you're like, oh yeah, you know what? While I'm here, I'll take these Vivian 10s. Like, where do you get the nerve? You know what? Your publicist is supposed to be working. Put on your jeans, put on your sneakers. Yeah, I'm not saying go look like a slob, but put on your jeans, put on your sneakers, put on a nice top, and get to fucking work. Are you kidding me? Get to fucking work. You are not the celebrity here. I personally blame social media for a lot of this. I blame that, you know, people want this instant celebrity, just that Instagram type of fame.
Yeah, everybody wants to be viral.
And but you know what? You can be viable and not act a fool. There are way too many people that act a fool. There are way too many people that, like, if you're a quote-unquote publicist, you want to walk the red carpet. You know, oh, take a picture of me and my friends. Bitch, why? Bitch, why?
Yeah.
Like, that to me is, like, the first, like, if I hear that, that's the first sign that that's somebody that I don't want to deal with personally or professionally. Personally, because I'll choke you. Professionally, because you're not about your client. Yeah. You're professionally, it's like you're not about your client. You're about, you know, you. And it's great to be self-centered and up your own ass when you're 21 in your private life. But when you go out and you become a professional, you don't got to be about your job. You got to be about your business. I cannot tell you how many of these 25-year-olds that will not be there in 10 years because that shit's going to catch up with you sooner or later. There's a reason I've been at this for 20 years, and I've always been employed, and I've always made my money because I know what the fuck I'm doing, because I behave a certain way, and because I don't do red carpet shit. You know, if you go to Getty Images right now, there's only one instance of where I was on the red carpet, and that was at the Latino Trendsetter Awards back in the day when I was the editor of Latin Trends magazine. And that was because my publisher insisted that I walked the red carpet with him, which was rather awkward and uncomfortable.
Really?
But that's neither here nor there. Yes, slightly. Just a little.
You know, I'm gonna go look for that picture now, right?
No, please do, because I'm in full goth regalia. It's hilarious.
Really?
Oh yeah. My hair is dyed I'm naturally dark because I'm Sicilian.
Right.
But of course, I felt the need to not only just go darker, but to dye my hair jet black.
Wow.
On top of the black that I already have, and have my skin pale white. I was a mess. I was a hot ghetto mess. And you know what? You can tell me nothing at that time. I was like, oh, I look cute. You know what?
Yeah,
and then he's like, oh, yes, let's go on the red carpet. I'm like, what? What?
Yeah.
You are who? And I had to walk with him. It's like, bro, come on. And you can see in my face that my smile is so forced and awkward. And I'm like, anywhere but here, anywhere but here, anywhere but here.
Right.
Because that's just not where my mind is at. So when the guy that, who said that to me said, you really need to start doing more interviews for your shit. I'm like, but why? I don't get it. What do you get out of a book? You got such an interesting life and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, logically this all, what you're saying makes sense. But my personality is such that I don't see myself in that role. So I never wanted to be famous. I say all this to say, you know what? I never wanted to be famous. I never wanted to be the one that everybody was always looking at. I never wanted to be that, which made these roles perfect for me. And now to see these roles and the hustle that went behind them get so disrespected and so cheapened and so trivialized. And, anybody can call themselves a publicist and they don't ever have to get their clients one placement. And it's absolutely fucking embarrassing. It's absolutely fucking embarrassing that people like this exist. And to me, that's very insulting. And you call yourself a journalist and all you have is a Medium blog. And that to me is the insulting part. That to me is, it troubles me about the upcoming generation. Now, I will grant you that there are some small glimmers of hope. There are some people that are in that are like me, but I'm noticing that they're very few and very far between, and they're becoming harder and harder to find. I'm working with this young girl right now called her name is Bestie, and she is based in Philadelphia. And I am extremely proud to say that when I was lecturing about the music business over at Hofstra, I had the opportunity to meet her. And she was one of my 2 interns, the other one being the lovely Amanda L. Sheikh, and she is still rocking and rolling as a travel blogger to this day. She's traveling the world. I'm so proud of that little girl. Wow. And I am really proud of Bestie because Bestie's from Philly. She's about her business. She's about, her money. She's about, all right, you got to show me what to do. You got to show me how to be a part of this game. I don't want to be no famous person. I just want to get this money and do what I got to do and get my recognition, get my coins and get the hell up out of here.
Right.
And that kind of hustle I can respect. That kind of hustle is someone that I know is working for it. So I appreciate that. So that kind of thing for every one idiot that is like, I want to walk the red carpet. Or I want to pull fucking, dude, I don't think you understand just how when I heard that from the fashion house, because I know the fashion house. When I heard that from the fashion house, that this publicist went ahead and tried to pull Vivian Thames for herself, I don't think you realize what that did to me. Like some part of my hustle spirit just died inside. I was like, this is the hustle today. This is the hustle today. So, I just was like, nah. So for every one idiot like that, or for every one idiot that tries to pull fucking shoes for herself, there's another 10 that are like me. And I try to remember that, and it makes it a little bit easier.
Right.
So, and I just think too, the most important thing I want to say, if there's any young women out there, that this is something that you got to bear in mind for yourself, that no one's going to do this for you. I don't care what kind of social media is out there. I don't care if you think you're famous. I don't care about any of that shit. You've got to make this happen for yourself. You've got to have the wherewithal within yourself to have that pride within yourself and to make shit work for yourself, and not that you like lay back and just expect everyone else to do it for you. Because it doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Let me ask you a question. You brought up, obviously being a woman in this business. Do you find like shit like what you just told me about, pulling a outfit for yourself or trying to be too much of a part of the show that you're really not a part of? Do you find that discredits a woman, especially in this business, or is there not much difference between a woman and a man? Because I feel like women probably have to really. I mean, it's obvious they have to fight more than men for equal pay, things like that. I mean, that's no secret, and especially when you're dealing with Hollywood and shit like that. Do you find that stuff like that leads to women getting discredited easily?
In my experience, it's already a very sexist industry. Now, I'm glad to see that the tide is changing and it's turning more towards in women's favor. And I don't know that I'll be alive to see this.
Right.
I don't know that I'll be alive to see the ultimate end result of what, we're looking at here happen. I don't know that. I don't think it'll take just one generation to get it right. I think it'll take an ongoing conscious effort to get the mindsets changed, because you have to wait for all these dinosaurs to die out, and you really have to not only change the mindset of the people that are currently in it, you have to change the people that are growing up, and you have to take a whole new approach to even raising your little boys and your little girls. So it's a whole ecosystem that you have to change, and that's why I don't think it'll happen overnight.
Right.
But
that makes sense.
But in my view and in my experience, obviously both women and men are required to, take care of themselves, to make themselves presentable. Nobody wants a slob. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's just in any business.
Right.
So I'm not talking about, right, you've got to be professional. But I find that things like when a publicist walks the red carpet, or when a publicist pulls Vivian Thames for herself, yes, those kinds of things are a form of microaggression that do undermine women very much.
That's a better word I was looking for. Right.
Yeah. With men in this business, I find that, some of them are just outright sexist and fuck them. But some of them develop that tension or that hatred towards you as a woman, even if it's subtly, over the course of a period of time, to witnessing these series of microaggressions.
Right.
And I think that when you experience a man who just really is not having it with any of the bullshit, you have to understand that he's been exposed to this type of bullshit from women for a very long period of time. Now, I say all this to say that I am in no way, no how, and no number either blaming a woman for being sexually harassed or assaulted.
Right. Of course.
That lies squarely on the shoulders of men. I am also by no means saying that any woman deserves to be sexually harassed or assaulted. And I am the first one to champion for a woman if she has been harmed in the workplace or her career has been jeopardized because she won't play the the old boys game.
Right.
And I've witnessed this sort of thing firsthand. And in subtle ways, I've seen it myself.
That's crazy to me.
But, and this is where the but comes in.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things about the Me Too movement as it stands right now is that there is no accountability on women's parts.
Right.
In other words, a man making a catty comment at you is a world of difference from a man harassing you or, going over there over the course of a period of time. And I think that we as women need to distinguish the difference between a man making a stupid comment and a man systematically harassing you, assaulting you, or anything of the sort.
Right.
You as a woman have to, train yourself to stand up for yourself. I have no problem standing up for myself. I will fight for myself all day and all night. And I will go to war for myself.
Right.
And I think that that's part of my upbringing, and I realize that makes me different. And I accept that not all women are like me. The same breath, I think that women also have to be accountable and be okay to speak up and be okay to be like, you know what, I'm ready for this. I can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I think that if you're a woman in this business, you have to learn how to do this. You have to. You have to toughen up. You have to keep your shit tight. You have to be ready for war. And if you're not ready for war and you're not ready to go to war, then push yourself back until you are ready for war.
Mm-hmm.
So
it makes sense. You gotta. It sounds like you need to have thick skin in the tight line of work that you're in. Is
yes,
accurate?
Yes, it is, and you have to develop that skin over a period of time.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
But you also have to understand that if you don't develop this thick skin, you're not going to survive.
Right.
And it's so embarrassing to me when I see a woman who doesn't want to develop a thick skin or who whines and cries at everything she does and where you expect a big strong man to protect me and wah. No, bitch.
Yeah.
No, bitch.
Don't do that.
No. No, it's very those kind of little girls really annoy me, and the men who coddle them just make me scratch my head, especially when you know better.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that kind of thing just really. I'm not saying that as a man you don't treat a woman with respect.
Nah,
I'm saying that.
There's a lot of people in this world, just men and women too. They got to toughen up a little bit.
Yes.
So
they do.
I see it all the time. I tell.
Right.
I have children who are young adults, and I tell them all the time. When they start complaining about shit, I'm like, "Yo, man, toughen up, because it's only going to get harder from here." You know what I mean?
That's the truth. That's the truth. And one of my favorite things that my mom used to say to me growing up was, "We are not in England, and you are not a princess." So, yeah,
that's terrific. That's great.
Yeah, and only Italian mother could say that. Many mothers today, even for the young girls today, is you're a princess, darling. You deserve to have a man take care of you, and you just be the perfect wife. And it's you know what? I don't get it twisted. Listen, I get in that kitchen, I can throw down. Let me make that real
well, you're
clear.
Italian.
Well, yeah, it's in my DNA. You're not allowed to buy your own house until you have that in your DNA. And I cook for myself every goddamn night. Thank you very much.
Right.
But, this whole notion of the princess and that you're this little delicate flower that needs, sheltering from the world and, just a little China doll in a China cabinet. Are you fucking kidding me? That's not what feminism is about. That's not what the modern day woman is about. That's not what any of this is about. And I find it beyond aggravating that every woman today has 10 times more opportunities than a woman of my generation had, and 10 times more ways of getting information, learning, and doing everything else, and they still choose to stay stuck on stupid. It absolutely makes me batshit. So, yeah. At the end of the day, the long and short of it is you as a woman have to toughen up. You as a woman have to learn how to get your own shit. You as a woman cannot sit there and rely on a man to pay your bills or to, protect you while you go off and act like the fucking princess. Kind of, you know what? We ain't in England, bitch, and I don't see either one of you, man. I don't see no Kate. I don't see no fucking Meghan. I don't even see the goddamn Queen. I don't even see fucking Camilla around here. Okay, I don't know which one you think you is, but you ain't Kate. You ain't fucking Meghan, and God knows you ain't Camilla. So
that's right.
What the fuck are you doing? Come on. But,
so,
yeah.
man, I don't even know how to follow that up. So we talked about a lot. What was that? I'm sorry, you cut out there for me. Oh my God, this is you keep it real, man. I gotta appreciate that. When I said we keep it real here, you definitely keep it real. You definitely following suit, man. I like that. That's some good shit, man. It really is. I gotta tell you that.
I appreciate that.
So, all right. So we talked about like a lot of stuff that you do for others, but we talked about you're a journalist, but you're also you're writing books now. So why don't you let everybody know, like, I know you got one coming out soon, and I mean we spoke before the show and stuff. So like, and you got a series come out. Let everybody know about that, because when you told it to me, it sounded pretty interesting. So, and I don't even read that much.
Yeah. Well, the first book I wrote back in the day was called Swimming with Sharks. And the full title is Swimming with Sharks, the Real World How-To Guide to Success and Failure in the Business of Music. A woman by the name of MJ Deskovich and I wrote it 10 years ago. And it was all about giving advice in the music business. And at the time that it came out, we got a spoken word record deal with Conquer the World Records. We got our stuff on iTunes. We went to #1 in Australia. We really had a good thing going for us at a time that it was like really revolutionary to have your audiobook on iTunes. 10 years later, we re-released it, and we added a lot of updates. I added a lot of celebrity stories. I took that as like a stepping stone, and I said to myself, I've always wanted to write a fiction book, because it's not something that I've ever done. You know what I mean? It's something that I have always found as a challenge, because I've always worked in the news space. I've always worked in the nonfiction space. I've always worked in the reality space, for like a better way of putting it. So I challenged myself to write a fiction book. And what started out as one fiction book became a 6-book series. And I titled the 6-book series The Uprising. The first book is called The Gathering, and the projected street date will be out on March 1st on Wallace Publishing. I have a full marketing campaign behind it, where I'm going to be going to different book fairs and book cons and different appearances and yada, yada, yada. And I'm really looking not so much forward to this newfound fame, and I just prefer to have like I prefer to have like my own little fandom, and like a really loyal fandom, and just like not do that whole famous chick thing. Like, I'm not into that.
You got to be on the
but I realize it's also part of but I realize it's also part of the job. So I'm kind of acclimating myself, and this is like one of the first things that like I'm doing in promotion for the book. So
that's awesome. Thank you.
But
thank you for choosing.
No, thank you. What do you mean? No, thank me. Thank you. I started out with just a basic outline of what it is that I wanted. I wanted a female to go on the hero's journey, the Joseph Campbell hero's journey. I wanted it to be dystopian fiction, because I can't do erotica. It makes me laugh. Like, inevitably, I don't know, maybe I'm like 15. Maybe I'm 15 in my head, but like I can't really like sit there. And he put her penis and her vagina, and I'm like I can't do it. I can't make that sound sexy. Like, I just can't do it. I tried. So I can't do erotica. I can't do any of this like chick lit stuff, as I know, shock and awe.
Right.
I can't do any of that type of fiction. I can only do dystopian fiction because I've always been fascinated by this whole through the looking glass philosophy. What does it look like? What does this world look like on the other side of the looking glass?
Right.
And that, to me, has always been something that I've wanted to do. That's always been my favorite type of story, and that's something that I wanted to do. So I really took the time to read a lot of dystopian fiction novels. I read up, of course, on my Neil Gaiman, on my GRRM. Yep. Stephen King, of course, is more horror, but Stephen King's style of structure and storytelling and realism is what really inspired me as well. King writes what he knows about, and he knows about Maine better than anybody else. And if you notice King's books, they're almost always set in Maine.
Yep.
They're never set in New York City. They're never set in Paris, France. One of the things that pissed me off about the Twilight books and about other books of that genre is that it was so inaccurate with its depiction of Rome and its depiction of this. I mean, not for nothing, Stephenie Meyer wrote a story about a place that she had never been, about these woods somewhere north of Seattle, and she had never been to them, and she had no idea what they're like. She completely sabotaged the Quileute people, and she completely, took a hatchet to their culture and to their studying and to all that stuff. And those were all things that I wanted to avoid. So in my process of reading, I learned about what I did and what I didn't want to do. I did want to tell a rich story. I did want to tell a story about something that I knew a lot about. I didn't want to do a hatchet job. I wanted to have different voices. I wanted to, and I just made the list of what I did and didn't want. And then finally, when I finally crystallized the story, we went into the election cycle, this past election cycle. And I was like, oh, great. We got political intrigue now as well. So that all came together and catalyzed itself into this dystopian fiction story. The basis of this dystopian fiction story, with all of this in mind, is that there's a leader. He has taken over the country. This leader has subsequently stripped the country of everything that it knew and that it loved about itself. The people are now little more than zombies. They're obedient. They're not creative. They're in line. And they all follow the rules that the leader puts forward simply because they have no other option. And at the crux of this story, it all takes place in New York City. This is my home.
Right.
And really, New York City is a microcosm. New York City is a microcosm of what has happened over the years. New York City used to be a place of vibrancy. It used to be a place of diversity. Mm-hmm. And now it's become very, very vanilla. Corporations have bought out a lot of these creative buildings. And listen, I'm not going to lie to you. The 70s and 80s were absolute hell in some places.
Right. Yep.
But there's got to be a happy medium between hell on earth and Martha's Vineyard. There's got to be.
Right.
So I really take that metaphor of New York City, and I use it as the microcosm for something bigger. Within the story, there are three main characters who are leaders of the rebellion. One is a former lead singer of a rock band, something I would know a bit or two about. One is a black man, an older black man who may or may not actually have lost his entire family. And another one is an Asian man. Mm-hmm. There's also a girl that's involved. The girl is the stepdaughter of the leader, and she actually has a connection to the lead singer that you will learn about in the story, and no, that is not her father. I'm going to get that out of the way right now.
All right.
She is half Puerto Rican, and I also have an LGBTQ character that's also her best friend that comes into the story. And there's also a bit of primitivism in there as well. So we have this cast of characters that come together, and it's their diversity that is the direct in direct opposition to the zombies and the blandness of what, the world is today. And that really is the crux of the Uprising. It's very much a tome about taking back what's yours and about celebrating diversity and the things that make us different and the things that make us epic. Right. And it's a celebration of New York, my New York, and bringing back the old New York. It's
that sounds really good.
Yeah, it's the politicalism of it is in there. There's a thread, there's a current in there, and while there is that tone, it's more of a rebellion against what that politicism stands for, and not the politician himself. And I think that that's the big distinction. And I think that that's why it'll appeal to people across both ends of the aisle, because I don't take a stand one way or another. My political leanings are obvious. I know where I stand. I'm very, I'm very anti-Trump. I don't agree with any of his policies.
Yeah,
but,
same here.
But yeah, I'll tell you this: I don't take. It's not a book about Trump. Please, please stop flattering this man. For the love of fuck, this man lives off a celebrity. Please stop flattering this man. Yeah. But it's not a book about Trump so much as it is about a formless leader that represents a bigger picture. And if you actually look within the book, the leader himself is very nebulous, and I make that very deliberately that he's nebulous, because I want him to be so. Because ultimately, as a writer, you don't write for yourself. You write for your audience. Right. And I want my audience to project onto this leader anything that they want him to be and really take something different out of it. And the final thing that I do want to say about my book is that I use more than one voice in the book. It is not an omniscient...
That's interesting. Right.
Yeah, it's not an omniscient third party that's saying, and then Jamie did this, and then Evanora did that, and then blah, 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 blah. It is one chapter, it's Jamie telling the story, and then it's Evanora, then it's Jamie, and then it's Rosie, then it's Tommy. And there are all these different voices. And there's a reason I did that. It's because I love this concept called the Rashomon effect. The Rashomon effect comes from a movie by the name of Rashomon that was put out by Akira Kurosawa back in the 50s. Rashomon tells the story of a murder. Put simply, it's a murder. But the beauty of Rashomon is that it tells the story of the murder through three different pairs of eyes. Three different people were present at this murder, and three different people saw three different things. And that's what the Rashomon effect is all about. When different people are witnesses to the same event, they will inevitably not see the event the same way. It will not affect them the same way. It will not impact them the same way. They may not even tell the same parts of the story the same way. There may be some things that they leave out because their mind doesn't register it. The way they interpret an event happening is different between one person and the next because no two people have the same life experiences. So these are all things that absolutely fascinate me as a person, but probably more importantly as a writer. And I think that what will make this book the most interesting book that people will read is that they will hear the truth through different eyes. And it'll be up to them to determine whose side they're on.
Right. Or make up their own, make up their own opinion. Like you said, I mean, you're even going as far as having the leader just so that every reader can view the leader the way that they see fit. I mean, that's really it sounds very daunting, to be honest with you, but it's also very intriguing. Like, it's definitely something that is different, and that's important. That's really, really. I'm not just saying this either. That's a very, very cool concept.
Right. It was not something that was as easy as it sounded, because the thing about journalism, and the thing that, people tend to have this opinion that journalists inevitably evolve into writers. And I can say with all unequivocancy, that is absolute happy horseshit. Right. Because the art of writing a book and the art of writing a story are two completely different things. Journalism focuses on the immediacy of the story and what happens in the moment. With a story, you are telling something over an extended period of time. So in other words, you are actually still, really telling it's the same concept. You're telling the story, but it's different in the sense of, especially if you're creating your own world within the story, you have to really put the reader there. I cannot go into this and assume that everybody knows what New York City is about. Sure, they know about it. Are you living under a rock? But I can't assume that everybody's been there. I can't assume that everybody knows what I'm talking about. I can, however, tell the story of what New York is, of what the subway sounds like beneath your feet, and how it feels, the sparks that fly off the train tracks, and how when it stops after it hasn't been running for a while, how it throws your whole body against the railing, and the dankness of a subway tunnel, and how cold the streets get, and how your breath is in the air, the sound of the metal under your feet when you climb a set of fire escape stairs. These are all things that I can tell you. I can tell you what I can't tell you what it tastes like. I have to tell you what it tastes like. See, with a journalistic story, for example, if I write a story about 50 Cent, okay, let's just say 50 Cent, I've worked with him before, cool, and everybody knows what 50 Cent looks like. Okay, terrific.
Right.
So if I tell a story about 50 Cent, I don't need to go into exposition about the fact that he's 40 years old, he's 6 feet tall, he's black, he's built. You know this. You know that I don't need to paint that picture in your head. And, we're at a soul food joint. You don't need to know all that kind of stuff. You just need to know we're at a soul food joint. That's what you need to know in the immediacy of the story. When you're writing a fiction story, I have got to give you the details. I have got to put you there. So it is a very, very, very different form of storytelling. Now, with that said, you as the writer also have to learn the difference between exposition and just vomit. Not every detail needs to be, told. You need to learn to be discerning and say, well, this I can do that. This isn't necessary. And the other final and perhaps biggest challenge of it all is that you as the writer can't just tell the story. You have to have action in the story. You can't. One of the things that I love, for example, about Gaiman's books or GRRM books is that there's action within the story. You actually see what's going down. You see what people are doing. You see, he's not just telling you and then they had a fight. You are involved in the actual fight while you're reading. That's how you keep turning the pages. And that's another challenge that they don't, necessarily teach you. It's not something that you necessarily learn to pick up. Because, again, in journalism, it focuses on the immediacy and the expediency of the story. And it's not so with writing a book, especially if you want to write a good one.
Right.
If you want to write Twilight, you just follow whatever's on the page.
Right.
But if you want to write a good story, you're gonna take the time and you're gonna craft it. And that's what I think I learned the most about this in writing, the Uprising series, the craft of writing.
So do you find that you did you enjoy writing the book? Like, are you glad it's something that you took on? Are you really, and are you looking forward to continuing the good? I mean, it sounds.
I'm looking forward to telling the rest of the story. But I'll tell you this: after this 6-book series, I'm done with fiction. Like that. This is it. Y'all had better enjoy this because I'm not writing anything else fiction. Right. I'll write memoirs. I'll write, I'll write people's autobiographies. I'll write my own memoir if I feel like it.
Right.
But maybe I'll write another advice book. It was actually suggested to me by the same person who suggested that I start doing interviews, that I do just that.
Right.
And on one hand, it's like, well, I already wrote an advice book. You know, now that I'm older, it's kind of embarrassing to watch a 25-year-old voice, you know, in full display and acting like you know everything. And even though I did, you know, when you're older, you tend to look at things a little bit differently. You tend to reflect on things differently. You try not to let, you know, and I'm not going to sit here and say I'm perfect. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't make mistakes. I fuck up majorly in many different ways. But when you're older, you try to be conscious and mindful and balanced. One of the things for me that I have a huge problem with and that I'm learning myself to overcome is that I'm not a politician. And that's something that I've always had a problem with.
Right.
It's something that can get me in a lot of trouble. And not in the sense of, oh, you know, I want to be Hillary Clinton or I want to be Donald Trump. No. What I mean by a politician is someone who can deal with someone that they don't necessarily like, and in some cases outright hate, and still manage to get their point across.
Right.
I, for one, took the opportunity in the book to murder my abusive ex over and over and over and over and over again, because that's just who I am. I am not going to let what he did go, because this is my way of dealing with it. You know what I mean? No one else has to go through it. No one else would do it. I went through it. This is my way of dealing with it. This is my, I don't want to say my form of therapy, but this is how I can handle it healthily while still maintaining my freedom, because I'm not giving up my freedom. Are you kidding? But, you know, writing gives you that opportunity.
Yep.
So that's something that I struggle with, because you have to learn at a certain point, and it's something that I'm struggling with, and I'm trying to make a conscious effort of every day. You have to learn that sooner or later you're going to run across people that you simply despise. That no matter what they do, they could have a cure for cancer tomorrow morning, and the first thing you'll say is, "Why the fuck didn't they come up with a cure for AIDS?" Because that's just how much you despise them. It's just nothing about them makes sense to you. Nothing about them works for you. Nothing about them is right for you. And that's just the way life is. What's not just the way life is you sitting there telling them, or telling like someone that they care about or whatever, like, well, fuck them. That's something that I do struggle with.
Right.
Because you have the problem of you want to protect your friends, you want to protect the people that you love, you want to look out for them, but like the most difficult thing is that you have to sometimes let go enough to let that person make that mistake. You know what I mean? And let that person get hurt, because some people, that's the only way they learn. And it's unfortunate, but people are stubborn. And I if you know, I'm one. I'm a stubborn person myself.
Yeah.
But that to me is like the challenge that I face. And there's a quote, actually, by the great Walt Whitman, that there is no part of yourself, no light side or dark side or any part of yourself that remains hidden or exposed that will not come out in your writing. And I just hope that the good and the bad parts of me all come out in the writing, and it's something that people can resonate with. It's something that people can enjoy. It's something that people can see is a real story, even though it is fiction. It's a real story told from a real place, from the heart. It is absolutely a labor of love. I actually see big things for this. I've spoken that sort of thing into the universe, if you believe in that sort of thing. And I know that big things will be happening for this book series. But this is my one and done. After I'm done with this book series, after this book series is out, I ain't writing nothing else in the fiction space. Because I just wanted to know that I could do it. You know? Right. I just wanted to know that I could do it. And after 6 books, really, what more do you need? Listen, George R. R. Martin ain't writing shit else after Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire. He ain't writing shit else. Right. The other half of Stephanie Meyer, as terrible as that book is, she ain't writing shit else outside of Twilight. You know, why the hell should I not take that same tack? If you did something good, and that's your legacy, enjoy the fucking legacy.
Yeah.
Know when to sit back and know when to just chill and be like, okay, now that I did this, I can do other shit.
That's right.
There is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So
The Rolling Stones going on goddamn tour, and they're fucking 112. Rob, sit back. You got more money than God.
Chill.
Take a vacation. Retire.
Enjoy
fucking
it for a
Mick
minute.
Jagger, get fucking Keith Richards. Come on, seriously. Listen, I love the Stones, but chill already.
Right.
I just sit the fuck back.
Yeah, he's still smoking cigarettes and everything. Keith Richards, and that guy, he's outliving everybody.
Keith Richards, he will. It's like the end of the world comes, there'll be cockroaches and Keith Richards. I swear to God.
Oh,
and that's fine, yeah, but you know what? Yeah, y'all gotta chill. Enough.
Yeah.
You're the fucking Stones. You have your legacy. People know who you are. You have more money than God. You got generational wealth. Your kids don't have to get off your ass for the next 5 generations. Sit the fuck down.
Yeah.
I don't have to see you dancing across the stage, Mick Jagger at 112. You
That's
good,
right.
baby. You good. Go sit. Catch the tea. That's it. Get done. Come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Come on, man.
Shit. Do you have a timeline for these 6 books?
I think I want to release one either every year or at the most every 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to give people some time to let it marinate.
Right.
I want to give people some time to really remember what the story is. More than that, give myself some time to promote the book.
Right.
Because, in as much as we're in an instant celebrity just that Instagram world, you still have to put in the legwork.
Yeah, you still got to write.
Now, I'm hoping that, as I go down the road and, more people know about the book, I don't have to do as much promotion as I'm doing for the first time around. But I know for the first time around, I got to make my bones.
Yep.
And I've got to do this. You know what I mean? And I'm happy to retire, such as it were, for lack of a better way of putting it, just retire as an author and as a writer. That's chill, because at a certain point, too, you get older and you want a quieter life.
Right.
You don't search out the drama. You don't crave the drama. You don't crave the excitement anymore. There's nothing wrong with quiet.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Oh, man. I love quiet.
Yeah. So
I really do. I'm ready for that myself. Shit.
Yeah.
So, oh man.
Yeah.
Now, what other than the books? I've taken up a lot of your time, so I want to.
No, it's fine. Listen, I'm enjoying myself. I don't know how you feel. I'm done.
You're hilarious too. You might have a future stand-up comedy as well.
Oh God.
But or at least writing for a stand-up comic, because I know you don't want to.
Oh, Carrie Fisher's job. You know what? I'll take that. God rest her soul. That's mother right there. That's like my mommy in my head. I love me some Carrie Fisher. But yeah. But you were saying what you were saying?
Right. So, all right. This is what really. What's next after this? Like after the books, like what is? Are you just going with the flow and seeing what happens? What is? You're gonna write these books. What's next? Do you ever think about going on to challenging yourself somewhere else, maybe in film, or are you going to continue, with the publicity stuff, or are you just going to go back to journalism?
I'm going to continue. Well, I'll tell you this much: I'm always going to continue with journalism. Mm-hmm. The publicity stuff, as you put it.
Yeah.
I mean that stuff. I'm helping someone I love reach their dreams,
right?
And so therefore, that's always going to happen. So that will, that goes without saying. In terms of journalism, I mean, I will get to the point where I will just be able to take on my passion projects, where I will write about what I want to write about, and nothing more, nothing less. And that's okay. And that's the point of it all. The idea is, right, to work and enjoy what it is that you do. That's why we do what it is that we do. I have, I've branched out a little bit into, as you see from my page, sports journalism, especially wrestling. I love wrestling, and that's kind of like my little tribute to my pop. My dad loved wrestling, and you know, so I think I'll do more of that. I think I like that, and I just foresee myself being a lot quieter. Just a lot more present. You know, I live on the beach now, and so I want to enjoy the beach more. I want to enjoy my dog. I want to enjoy my family. I want to enjoy my nephews and my niece, and I want to enjoy the people I love, because I didn't have that time when I was younger, and you know, I'm going to have that time now that I'm going to be where I want to be. And that's kind of why I did what I did, was so that I could do what it was that I loved, and, you know, get the opportunity to enjoy the ones that I love more. With less of a focus on being right there, right now, right in the thick of things, right in the heart of the story. Yes. And that's I think all that we work for. That's, I think, all that we can hope for. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So any chance these books end up movies? I want to know what you say, because
I don't want to jinx anything, but I would like it.
But you'd be open to it.
Okay, good.
Because that's I was wondering about that.
Yeah, I think it's I don't want to jinx anything, but that's what the hope is. You know what I mean? That's what I want, and and you know, it's a funny thing about writers and authors in particular. Many of them take the tack of they want to be involved in the actual creative process of the film itself. Right. I don't necessarily want that. I want to be involved in the casting, and I want to, you know, just kind of like be the overseer. If they want to like consult with me and say, listen, what do you think of this, that, and the third? 99 times out of 100, I will say absolutely yes. There would be something in that case. There would be very few things that I would say no to. And the only thing that I really foresee myself saying no to is that if something is so completely out of that character's personality, or does something that completely alters the story, that I would say no to. But everything else, I would say yes to. And the only thing like I would want is just like a little bit of an oversight in the casting. Because, and I'll tell you why. I've learned to have an appreciation for different types of artists. It is not just about music, or whatever the case may be. It's about the fact that different mediums have different types of artists. You know, like you see what Thing does. You see Angel, and you see what he does.
Right.
That the dude is like sick. He's absolutely like he's sick. He's sick. Yep. But like his vision is not the same as like another artist's vision. This is like for instance, okay?
Right.
And so it's like, let's just have a shit and a giggle and say, you know what? You're going to draw the whole, I don't know, it's going to be a cartoon, or like a graphic, like Neon Flux type thing. I don't know, whatever.
Right.
What he's going to see with the book, or whatever, or the stars of the book, is going to be completely different than, say, if I were to give it to, I don't know, Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese may see something that's very gritty, and another director will see something else, and another director will see something else, and another director will see something else. That's the beauty of the film medium. When you do a book, it's very much a solo project. It's me, and only me. When you do a film, it's a collaborative effort. It's a band project. Because, you know, even if you do subscribe to auteur theory, and, you know, there are a few people out there that do. There's the director, there's the writer, there's the actors, there's the actresses, there's the set guy, there's the costume designer, there's the location scout, there's this, there's that. Every single part of that film has somebody that does a different job to make that film happen. And you can't ever underestimate the importance of how all of those different visions come together to create the finished product, and how hard it takes, and how many actual hours of labor, especially union labor. Shout out to the unions.
Yeah, I'm a member of the union.
Which one?
Local 1556, Dock Builders and Timbermen.
Oh, right. My kind of guy. My mom, when she first started out, was the president of Local 1518 Teamsters in Fort Lee, Leonia, New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
I myself was a member of Local 210 Teamsters when I was over at the Metropolitan Opera, eventually making shop steward. Teamsters run New York City. Teamsters run the entertainment industry in New York City. And shout out to every union worker out there. I stand by you. I fucks with you. I love you, even if this goddamn president doesn't.
That's right.
In any event, event, I will absolutely say that the amount of man hours that it just takes, especially union man hours, to make this happen is not something that can be taken lightly, and it is not something that can be understated. It is something that is truly a beauty to watch. And who the fuck am I to stick my nose and interfere in that process?
That makes sense. That's interesting. Yeah, that's because, like you said, a lot of people, that's their baby. Especially like you're writing 6 books, so that's going to take you some time. If that becomes film, that's cool that you're open minded to having an artist, because that's what they are, artists interpret it in their own terms.
Well, you know,
without changing the story or the
exactly. Well, you know what it is. You're a parent, and so what I'm about to say, you're going to understand. I don't have children of my own, but I have nephews and a niece, and they're like my children. And when you have a child, you have children. You know, in the beginning, of course, they're your baby. They're so dependent on you, this, that, and the third. And that's what makes you go ooh and ah and all. That's what makes you love the baby. That's terrific. But as they get older, they develop personalities of their own. They develop minds of their own. They're going to make choices of their own, some good, some not so good. You as a parent, especially as they get older, are going to always wrestle with the notion, you know, do I hover over them, or do I let them fall and make their own mistakes?
Oh, yep. I'm going through that now. Yep. I got grown kids. So.
Yeah, so you understand. But at the end of the day, what you as the parent have to understand is that while your kids come from you, they are not you. You cannot live your life, you know, for your children necessarily, and you cannot live their life for them. Their story is not the same as yours. When you make a baby, you make it with the notion that eventually they will go out into the world on their own and make their own way. And you will be, it doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean you don't care about them. It just means that inevitably you know you're not going to be here forever. And you got to make sure that kid knows how to survive on, you know, his or her own.
Yeah.
And it would be the height of stupidity for you as a parent to make your kids so dependent on you that as an adult they can't function. So, I say all this to say, when my books go out into the world, they're no longer mine. Yeah, I created them. But as I said at the beginning of the conversation about the books, when you're a book writer, you don't write for yourself. You write for your audience. And when that book hits the news, when that book hits the bookshelf, it's no longer my baby. It now is subject to the eyes and ears of every single person that reads it. It's subject to their interpretations. It's subject to what they see in their mind's eye. How they enjoy it is subject to their experiences in the world. These are all things that, like, you take into account, and, you know, as a parent of a book, for lack of a better way of putting it, and I have to accept that that's the nature of my business. That's the nature of my art. If you as an artist are so stuck on stupid that you only make art that you enjoy, you won't have a career for very long.
Yeah.
Okay? Because there's nothing worse. Right, you won't have an audience, because who the fuck wants to listen to you in whatever medium you choose? Who the fuck wants to listen to you babble all this time? You know? But you have to let that baby go. You have to put that baby out in the world, and you have to let that baby get its own legs and walk for itself and fend for itself. The book will stand on its own. Some people will love it. Some people will hate it. but you will read it. And, you know, it's the same thing with me. I go out in the world. Some people absolutely, it's funny with me. You either absolutely adore me or you absolutely hate me, which is perfect because I'm that way with people. Either I absolutely love you or I absolutely hate you. If I love you, I will die for you. If I hate you, get off my planet. Don't ever get me to the point where I hate you because I want you off my planet. You will fall into that category of, if you find the cure for cancer, I want to know why the fuck you didn't find the cure for AIDS. So that's just who I am. I'm not going to lie to you. But, you know, and it's the same thing with the book. The book will stand on its own. The story will stand on its own. And it will have its own merits. And that's really all that I can ask for. The rest of it, how you interpret it, what you write about, you know, literary-wise, how you review it, this, that, you know what? Good. If it sucks in your mind, your mind's eye, awesome. If it doesn't, even better. You know what I mean? That's the attitude you have to take with that sort of thing.
If you think
and
it
believe
sucks,
me, I could not have done this at 25.
Twilight. Right.
Was that?
I said, if you think it sucks, fuck you, go read Twilight.
Precisely. But, you know, but the thing is that I could not have that attitude at 25. That is something that came with age and experience. And because, you know, when you're 25, you know, you're young and you're stupid. Think. Yeah.
You get to a point
you know,
where
as
like,
you get older, you get wise. That's all.
Yep. Well, it's funny you brought up kids because I actually was gonna do this in post production, but I'm just gonna say like everything you're saying is true. And in fact, my oldest is, as I'm recording this, is on her way to Atlantic City tonight. She turns 21 years old tomorrow. And
happy birthday!
Yeah. So, Caitlin, if you listen to this, I know she does listen sometimes. When you listen to this, I love you very much and happy birthday. And be safe. I'm down.
Happy birthday, Caitlin! Happy birthday, Caitlin! Happy birthday, baby girl. Be safe.
Yeah, that's it. Luckily, she is with my sister. You're not going to listen
to your dad, so listen to me, a stranger that you've never spoken to on the internet. Is by all means. Listen to me, Caitlin. If you don't want to listen to your daddy.
If you can't trust strangers on the internet, who can you trust?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. So let me ask you this. So I'm going to close with this because this has been fun. When the book comes out, you got to come back on. You got to come back on. We got to do this again. Maybe because I'm going to be having Angel on the show. Maybe I'll even come to New York. Maybe we'll do something on location or something if you're
that'd be cool.
If you're up to that.
That'd be cool. And, you know, the secret is that he's actually going to be doing the cover art for the book.
Yeah, you know what? I meant to ask you that, too. I was going to ask you that. Because it popped into my head, and I forgot about that. That's awesome. He's going to be doing the cover art for your books?
Yeah. And, you know, that's another way that, like, I'm kind of giving my baby over to somebody else.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome. His artwork is awesome.
Oh, no, that's not what the question is. Listen, the artwork is unimpeachable. That's why I approached him. But the question is not that. The question is that, of course, he's not going to read the book and get the same things out of it that I'm going to.
Right.
I wrote the damn thing. I know what the fuck I meant. But
right.
That's what is going to make that process fun. Because that'll kind of be like, how do I say this? That'll be my first experiment with letting my baby out into the world.
Right.
Okay, sense. Buddy, how do you see it? And this is going to come from somebody who knows me very well, who claims he loves me, or at least, you know, is dumb enough to put up with me for an extended period of time. You take your pick of the litter, or hell, there's no one else that's going to put up with me. I may as well fucking put up with you. But you know, but no. All jokes aside, you know, like I said, after we have that long-standing. That long-standing love and respect for one another. So we understand each other better than the other one does. So it'll be very interesting to see how someone who, didn't write the book, okay, so what do you see in your mind's eye for this artwork? Mm-hmm. And it may be just something that's completely out of left field, like something that I never thought of before. Like, okay, like this is interesting. All right, and it'll be a challenge for me too, because I of course love his artwork. His artwork, but with what he does, he deals also in a way. He's also a journalist of sorts, because he deals with the immediacy of the celebrity. Okay, you don't need to know, for example, the exposition of what Ric Flair looks like. If I tell you Ric Flair, you don't know what he looks like. Yep. If I tell you Mark Hamill, you know what he looks like. If I tell you, I don't know if you're a wrestling fan, Melina Perez, you know what she looks like. These are all images that are going to be immediately conjured up in your head. But in this case, he's starting with a blank slate. You look at the blank slate and say, what pops up in my head? Mm-hmm. His thought process is absolutely next level. It's out of this world. He's like a fucking alien. But that to me will be like the most interesting thing to watch. Like, what's his thought process? So that concept of giving that over to somebody else has made it more comfortable for me to be comfortable with the book being let out to the world. And the understanding that it's going to be interpreted in its own ways. And that makes it easier for me to let the baby go. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Let the baby go. If it's got to go to, whether it goes to a movie or a TV series or a fucking graphic novel, it's got to do. You know what I mean? Nice. That makes it a lot easier. So, yeah. So,
the one more time, the name of the book and the release date.
Sure. So it's called The Gathering, Book 1 in the Uprising series.
The Uprising series.
Yes. So, like I said, it's going to be a 6-book series. The projected street date is March 1st on Wallace Publishing. I've also already commissioned it for a Kirkus review, and also it will be submitted for a few online book clubs to be the book of the month. You'll be seeing that shortly. I, of course, will keep you in the loop of everything that is going on.
Absolutely.
The next title in the series, I still have a few working titles that I'm playing with in terms of what the titles will be, because if there's one thing that I've never been really good at, it's the titles of the book.
Yeah.
Just like a little bit of fun trivia. Believe me, I'm not good with titles or headlines with journalism either. It's a practice for that. The original working title of the book, this is a bit of a fun trivia, was called Broken Windows. Huh. And I got the concept because back in the 90s or so, Ray Kelly instituted what he called the Broken Windows policy, and that was he would issue extreme punishments for the most petty of shit to deter bigger crimes in New York City.
Right, I remember that.
Same concept. Yeah, and it's the same concept that he ultimately took to Los Angeles to crack down on the gang problems in Los Angeles. It didn't work as well over there because Los Angeles and New York are two different animals. Right. And I would know because I lived in Los Angeles for a little bit. But it is not the same animal as New York City. You could sit here and debate whether or not it worked. But the point is that the mere concept of something like that you give the most extreme crimes for the most basic of shit to deter more violent crimes, is just on its face absolutely mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. And I just love that concept. Like that concept was the ground floor, the first piece of paper. The ground floor of the book was the concept of broken windows, getting extreme punishments for the most basic of shit. You will see that theme in a few different parts of the book, right. How extreme the punishments get for something as simple as being artistic or being creative or being expressive.
Wow.
So it's there. But the title sucks. I mean, broken windows. What? I mean, what? Written by the Property Brothers? What the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to look at a book that's called Broken Windows and think anything else. But did an HGTV motherfucker write this shit?
Right.
So that's kind of like the fun little trivia, and that also gives you a little bit of insight into how like books are written, and the same thing goes with scripts. Like George Lucas, when he started writing Star Wars, it was originally called Blue Harvest. What the fuck? What do you mean Blue Harvest? Who the fuck would this thing have ever become the monolith that it is today if this motherfucker was called Blue Harvest?
Absolutely
I sincerely
no
fucking
way.
doubt it.
Yeah, that's an
No
awful
way.
name.
No way. I'm looking at my fucking Darth Vader toaster, and I guarantee you there would not be no fucking Darth Vader toaster in my kitchen if this motherfucker was in a movie called Blue Harvest.
A Blue Harvest toaster.
Come on. You know, so that's kind of like another interesting thing to like toss over in your head, just the actual process and the evolution of how you get to the story.
Right.
So.
There you go.
I love it when I stun a man into silence.
That's, I mean, that's, I was thinking just that Blue Harvest thing really, like, I was thinking about that because I was just like, man, because I love Star Wars too, and I'm just like, that would have been fucking awful, dude. Like, there'd been no way I'm watching a movie called Blue Harvest.
Right. Well, and you would have given no shits about this book if it was called fucking Broken Windows. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
And we would be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But of course, you know, when you're first writing, you're like, Broken Windows, that sounds fucking amazing. And then you're looking like, no, it doesn't.
Yep.
It does not. I mean, what the fuck was I thinking? Was I drunk? Like, I'm not sure.
Oh my god! So March 1st, the book is not Broken Windows. But
no, it is not broken.
Are you gonna be doing book signings and stuff? Are you gonna?
Pardon?
Are you gonna be doing like a little book tour, like book signings, stuff like that?
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Much to my internal dismay.
Yeah,
because as I mentioned from the very beginning, this was not what I had in mind.
Yep.
I can't go and like listen. Can we just like talk to the artist who fucking did the cover? I mean, he's good at talking. This motherfucker can talk. Like let him fucking do it. I'm not doing this shit. No, I just hear him in my book. Like, come on, do I have to talk to you?
Let the book do the talking. Nah, you're doing great. You're gonna kill it. I know it. You're gonna kill it. You're hilarious.
Yeah, I'm gonna scare the shit out of the Midwest.
Yeah, that's probably true. You should probably tone it down.
Like I will be run out of town by like local Hell's Angels and evangelical preachers. I don't have good visions in my head of it.
Yeah, you're gonna be good. You're gonna be great on the coasts, but like the whole middle of the country thing, yeah, you're probably gonna want to tone it down a little.
Right. Is you trying to dismiss Donald Trump, the greatest president this country ever seen? This smirk. We don't talk fast about presidents here.
Oh, my God.
Nice talking to y'all.
See ya.
Right. It was fun. Yeah, you know, the spirit of fucking Texas. Yahoo. No, I'm good. But yeah.
That's I gotta
hilarious.
definitely I gotta reach out to Angel. Like I say, he's coming on next week, and then after your book comes out, when you're doing the rounds, we gotta do something.
Of course.
Something big. It'll
of course. You know what? Honestly, I'm not one of these people that forgets. Listen, if I remember my editor from 20 some odd years ago,
that's true.
I'm gonna remember you. So
hey,
the minute
worry, I'm not
gonna
forget,
I'm gonna hit you up. Yo, Lou.
Yeah, I'm. Trust me, I'm gonna be on it too. So
nice.
Yeah,
so.
This is I can't thank you enough, seriously, because I
appreciate you talking to me. I appreciate you listening to me. So
I want everybody like behind the scenes. You see, like behind the scenes, you introduced me to Angel, and then we started talking. And you're working on getting other guests for me. So I appreciate it because I'm really trying to do this this big. I'm a one-man show here. Actually, the next time that we get together, I'm probably going to have a co-host, a friend of mine that I grew up with who's hilarious. We're like kind of complete polar opposites. but we have the same sense of humor. So it's
yeah, exactly.
His wife actually said, you guys are funny together, but sometimes you guys cross the line, so you might want to be, remember that and take it easy. But yeah, so
it's all good.
Yeah, so that's but I really, really do appreciate it, and
I appreciate you talking to me too.
Yeah, so we definitely got it. Please stay in touch.
You got to get up, man. Of course.
Absolutely.
Always. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
No,
All right,
no problem. All right.